Um, Hi there again, everybody. Today's episode is going to be on the Standing Liberty Quarter. This coin came about the same way the Mercury dime and later you will see the Walking Liberty half dollar came about. Was the barber coins were not really wanted anymore, and the government wanted to redesign them. So when the barber dimes, quarters, and half dollars, the Liberty heads got to 25 years in 1916, they decided they were going to replace the coins. So this is a Standing Liberty quarter. This one's not in very great shape. I don't really have a awesome condition one for you in my possession at the moment. But again, that was the way that it came about. So they wanted to change the quarter to a new design, but they still wanted to keep with that Liberty theme, which is what they did. And it originally had a what they called a Type 1, which I have an example here. And the Type 1 had her left, well, when you look at it, it would be to your left, but it's actually her right breast was exposed, and it was the idea of having Liberty standing strong on a pedestal. The idea came about along the lines of when you go to like museums and you see like ancient Roman statues or ancient sculptures. It didn't really matter that they didn't have clothes on, because that's just the way it was, and that was the idea behind having her breast exposed. But it got a lot of public scrutiny, so they changed it a year and a half into production. They changed it, and they put like a chainmail over the breast, so that this one is a Type 1, where you can see right there the breast is exposed. And I don't really have a good condition one to show you, but what they did is they couldn't really change the design, so they just put some chainmail over it. And that was really the only change they made to this coin, except in 1925 they changed the date, because if you notice here, she's standing on a pedestal, and you can see the date 1925 was the year that they kind of recessed it back because the dates were wearing off. So now if you look at this one, which is a 1930, you will notice that the pedestal on the bottom is recessed a little bit. But besides that, there really was no other changes. It was fairly short-lived, though. It only went from 1916 to 1930, and the reason for that was they weren't really sure what was going to happen with the quarter. Also, the Depression made it so that no quarters were made in 1931, and they were trying to figure out what to do, and they eventually decided that they were going to make the Washington quarter. In 1932 it was released, and that effectively ended the Standing Liberty run, so it wasn't a very long run, so to speak. Okay, the design of the coin. The idea was to have Lady Liberty standing on a pedestal, which you can see here, the pedestal is at the bottom. And it is Lady Liberty standing with her left arm raised. So over here, be on our right side, her left arm is raised with a shield, and her right hand over here bears olive branch, which is to symbolize peace. That was the idea of the olive branch, which is why you see it on a lot of coins. And originally, as we said, her breast was exposed, and then they covered it up with some chainmail, and this is the version that has the exposed breast. The reverse design has stars around the outside, 13 stars. It also has a Eagle in flight in the middle, $quarter at the bottom, and United States of America and E Pluribus Unum at the top. And again, the only changes of the design was the exposed breast was then covered up, and they also recessed the pedestal where the date is for the last 5 years that it was produced. Okay, the designer initials are on the front of the coin. It's going to be hard to see, but if you go all the way down to the last star, you'll see that dark spot next to the bottom star on the right side is an M for McNeil. Alright, the designer of the Standing Liberty Quarter is Herman A. McNeil, and I don't want to go too far into it because it'll take a while, but he was an American sculptor born in Massachusetts, and he did a lot of sculpting for different things around the country. There's a lot of them out there in like Washington and New York and places like that. The only coin that he produced was the Standing Liberty Quarter, and he did some Supreme Court and things like that, sculptures and things, but he never did any other really engravings or designs. And he also did he was invited to compete in a Pioneer Woman statue competition, but he didn't win. So he was mostly a sculptor. There wasn't really too much in the way of coins. This is the only coin that he designed, the Standing Liberty. But besides that, that's who he was, and he passed away in 1947, and he was 81 years old. So that was like the most influential work, as most people remember him for the Standing Liberty Quarter. The specifications of the Standing Liberty Quarter are exactly the same as the Barber Quarter and other ones that were previous to it. It weighed 6.25 grams, was 90% silver and 10% copper, which would equal out to 0.18084 ounces, so just under a fifth of an ounce. And it was 24.3 millimeters in diameter and had a reeded edge. Mint locations. These were made at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco Mint. And I do have one. I believe this one right here is an S. It may not be, but where the mint mark would be located is very similar to the designer initial, but on the opposite side. You would see it over to the left side underneath the bottom star, over in that open region where the bottom star is and the pedestal. You would see either a D or an S if it was made at those two. Philadelphia didn't have a mint mark. Alright, now we get into mintages. The key date of the series, which we'll get into in the next piece as well, is the 1916. They were only made in Philadelphia, and only 52,000 of them were made. So that is the stumper of the entire Standing Liberty series. But the Type 1 1917s. There was just under 9 million made in Philadelphia, and there was a 1.5 million to 2 million made at the Denver and San Francisco mints. So that is another thing that you want to keep an eye out for. The Type 2 in Philadelphia was 1917. They made about almost 14 million, and they made about 6 million of the D and S of the 1917. Most of the other ones are fairly large mintages of several million, except for some of the mint marks. The mint marks are the ones that you do have to watch out for, like the 19 D and S were under 2 million a piece. The 27 D and S, the D was 976,000 and the S was 396,000. The 28D was under 2 million. The 29 D and S were under 1 million, and the 30S was under 2 million. So all those were under 2 million. The 29 D and S and the 30S under 2 million. But the Philadelphias were very common with 11 million, 6 million, 12 million, 20 million respectively. So the Philadelphia mints are not the ones that you really need to worry about, except for the Type 1, which is right here. But the mint marks, do pay attention to the mint marks. And the other problem with the mint marks is they may have worn off with the way that the dates were wearing off. Alright, key dates to the Standing Liberty series are obviously the 16, because the 16 was the rarest. They only made 52,000, and it starts out at about $3,000 or $4,000. The Type 1 17, you do want to have a Type 1 17, just because of, you need to have it to have a typeset. But those are somewhat affordable though, so it's like a semi-key. Ones that there are some other ones like a 18S 8/7, which is a variety that you can find, and also the 28S had small and large mint mark varieties. But besides those, the only thing that really you do need to stick out for are ones with mint marks. Do go for more money. Ones like the 23S goes for really good money, and some of the earlier dates will go for maybe twice as much as like a 30 or something like that does. So you do want to pay attention to those, but for the most part all the Philadelphias are pretty affordable, unless you get into really high grades. There's the 23S, and there's the and there's a few of the D's and S's will be like double the price of a Philadelphia for some of them, but that's pretty much it. There's not the key dates are the Type 1s and of all the mints, and the 16, the 23S. So that is your key dates to the series. It is a little bit trickier to put it together though, especially if you want better condition, just because it's in the range where the mintages are good but not huge, and a lot of them wore down really quickly, so that is part of the deal with those. But if you want to do a year set, like say just get one from every year, very affordable. You can pick up almost all of them. From every year, one from each year, you'd be decent. So that's pretty much what I have for the Standing Liberty Quarter. Again, anybody have any more information, you can always contact us, message us, put some comments on the videos as you would like. And thanks for watching, and see you on the next episode of Knowledge is Money.